Good evening, Hare Krishna. Welcome to our conversation on emotional well-being series. So today we'll be talking about identifying and managing anxieties. Health is very, very important. Our physical health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health. While we are very comfortable talking about a physical problem, oh, I have a stomach ache, uh, I'm feeling dizzy, we go to a doctor. If I'm feeling spiritually down, oh, I'm not chanting my rounds properly, I go to my counselor and I talk to my counselor. But when it comes to my emotional health, my state of mind, you're not very comfortable doing so. There's an element of closeness, awkwardness, log kya kahenge, log kya sochenge, and that stops us from speaking our heart to people. Our endeavor is that people should speak about their emotional state of being to people whom they believe in, whom they trust, people who care for them. Because, like a physical ailment, this also is something which can be addressed. Addressing this is with us Mrs. Usha Gaonkar, uh, fondly called as Ushamati Mataji in the temple. She's a clinical
Hare
psychologist
Krishna.
and she practices at Shushrat Hospital, Gopal's Garden School. She was also practicing at Bhaktivedanta Hospital. She also runs a private clinic in Mumbai and has provided therapy to hundreds of people in India and across the world. So we are in safe hands and we'll be having a conversation
Hopefully.
with Mataji. You have an opportunity to ask questions. So in the YouTube chat, please put on your questions and towards the end, we will address them. So Mataji, while growing up, it was very normal to be nervous. Before an exam, before a presentation, before an interview. What is the difference between being nervous and being anxious?
Being nervous, as you said, is a very normal phenomenon. It's something which passes away after the event is over. But being anxious is something which stays with you in spite of the event either not happening or has already happened. So, anxiety is something, or being anxious is something which happens because you are perceiving something which is threatening to you. So, it's a perceived threat.
Okay.
And nervousness is something which is normal, like I have to prepare for my exams, or I have to give a small presentation tomorrow. Or I still remember when I was a small child, I had to present I am a little teapot. I was in my senior kg, and my father had dressed me, it was like a fancy dress, and he had made me a teapot. And I just went on stage and I cried. I didn't say anything. So it's being nervous, it's not anxious. So but anxiety is something which makes you dysfunctional,
Hmm.
which makes you feel uncomfortable throughout the day. It stays with you in spite of that event, or that particular whatever
Mhm.
has to happen has passed. So that's the main difference between being nervous and being anxious.
Okay. So, Mataji, we understand that when you go on stage, you're nervous. Can you give us examples of anxiety? That, okay, now I identify that I'm experiencing anxiety. If you could give us some few examples.
Sure. There was this lady who came to me, very highly placed in an organization, doing wonderfully, very confident, because I know her personally also. And one fine day, she just came to me and she told me that I want to share with you what happened today in the morning. I said, yeah, please go ahead. And she told me that she got up in the morning. Uh, it was a normal day. She just packed her bag and she left for work. Halfway, she took a U turn and drove back home. And I said, what happened? So she said that I did not want to see the number of emails on my laptop. Once I go to work, the first thing I do is I check the number of emails that have come in, and I was not ready for it today. It was too overwhelming for me. So this is one example how feeling overwhelmed is part of anxiety. It's a symptom of anxiety. So this is one example. So feeling overwhelmed made her feel anxious,
Okay.
and made her feel, um, I would say, paralyzed. She could not function. So she
Okay.
just came back home and she started crying.
So if I'm not being normal, that means I'm experiencing anxiety. I mean, if I'm not at my normal, I'm not my normal self. Nervousness may come and go,
Yes.
but if something stays longer than usual
Yes.
and makes me feel a little not normal, that means I'm experiencing anxiety.
See, there are three things in anxiety.
Hmm.
One is your intensity
Hmm.
with which it comes,
Hmm.
okay? The duration, how long it lasts, and third is the frequency. So you have to observe. Anxiety is not something which you can identify in one shot. Okay, today I'm feeling like this, so I have anxiety. No, it has to be a symptom which has been persistent for some time. That's
Okay.
why we measure it in terms of intensity, frequency, and duration.
Okay.
So if you have been feeling overwhelmed, tired, irritated, fatigued, restless, agitated, lack of sleep, I'm just giving you some symptoms over a period of say 3 to 6 months,
Okay.
then it's time to address it.
Okay.
Talk to somebody.
Okay.
This is how I'm feeling, what should I do?
Right. So if it's happening too often,
Yes.
if it's happening, the intensity is
Increasing, or even if it remains the same.
even if it remains the same. So, for example, let's take this lady. She's going to work, she thinks about her emails, she feels nervous, and she still continues saying, okay, fine, I'll deal with it.
Exactly.
The fact that she took a turn, this is dysfunctional.
Absolutely.
So, when you become dysfunctional, that's when
The address.
it needs
Yeah.
to be addressed.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So now, as we have fever, like
But here again, one more thing.
Yeah.
The realization that she's feeling overwhelmed. She may not be dysfunctional today, but over a period of time, she may get dysfunctional because the work, the load, the burden of going to office, checking the mails, doing the work is already becoming too much for her.
And it's happening
Yes.
frequently.
So it's just the body's way of responding to that particular stress, to that particular, activity.
Okay.
So the body is telling you something that I can't take it anymore. So
Okay.
we need to recognize these symptoms and accept them and work on them.
So it crosses a threshold level.
Absolutely.
So when it crosses a threshold level where you feel a little not in control.
Yeah.
And you feel I can't manage it.
Yeah.
Right? Nervousness comes, goes,
Goes.
I'm managing it. But
Yes.
this is something which is hanging on and I'm losing control. That's when I'm in a state of anxiety. Right? So I'm sure there are levels of anxiety.
Yes,
How
yes,
you
there
have
are.
temperature, you have fever, it's 100 degrees.
Yes, yes,
102.
absolutely.
So can you tell us what are the different levels of anxiety?
Okay, so normally when I start with a therapy, with my client, especially if it's a client who's struggling with anxiety, so we try and scale it. We put it on a scale of 1 to 10. So I ask them to measure their anxiety level, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put your anxiety? So I give them, okay, 1 being calm, 2 being concerned, 3 being worried, 4 being nervous, 5 being anxious, no, 5 being overthinking, 6 anxiety, 7 a panic or an anxiety attack, 8 is like completely losing. There are various stages. So then we kind of measure it accordingly, and I tell them that, okay, now you tell me, where do you stand? Is it like a life and death situation for you? Then rate it at 10. If it is little lesser than that, 9. So accordingly we scale it. So that's how there's a measurement, which is there's a scale which goes with anxiety.
So the highest is what?
Highest is 10.
So what happens when you are at 10?
So highest is 10, that the person feels that if I don't do this, or if I'm not able to manage this, I will die tomorrow.
Okay.
That's the kind of situation.
Okay.
If I don't do this right now, I'm not going to live tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
That's the kind of feeling that they start getting.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So, while coming for this program, I was also experiencing some kind of anxiety. And when I experience anxiety, I become very particular about cleanliness.
Mm.
You know, are my hands clean? Are my feet clean? I'll keep on wiping them again and again. And this typically happens when I'm going into a high pressure situation.
Okay.
So, at what level am I?
You have to rate yourself. I will not be rating yourself.
Okay,
I have given you the scale.
okay.
You rate yourself where you
Because I
are.
see this pattern.
Hmm.
Every time I go into a high pressure zone, I'm behaving a little abnormally.
See,
It's not the way I am.
I would say in this case, if you don't do these activities, like suppose you don't wash your hands, if you
Mm.
don't keep the place clean, does it make you feel anxious?
Yes, I do feel
Ha. So
anxious.
then you have to rate yourself
Mm.
that where do you stand? If suppose I don't do this act
Mm.
today, like I for example, you're coming here and I tell you that Prabhuji, don't do this today.
Mm.
How would you feel?
It will be difficult,
Hmm.
but somehow I have learned to now transcend it and manage it. But it is not leaving me.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's still there, but I've learned to deal with it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
management is important. See, sometimes what happens that internally also we build some coping strategies.
Mm.
See, when we were small children, I'm sure a lot of us went through a lot of issues, lot of
Mm.
challenges, lot of obstacles, and we were able to cope with it on our own, or probably with the help of our parents, you know. And that's because we developed our own coping mechanisms.
Mm.
So sometimes people develop, if you're strong enough, you can develop coping mechanisms. But again, as you said, the feeling does not leave you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's lingering somewhere,
yeah.
and the fear is always there that it'll come back. You know,
Yes,
it'll
yeah,
relapse anytime.
yeah, yeah.
So if you deal with it, if you learn some skills to manage those feelings, it will help you in the long
Surely.
run.
We will come to that.
Yeah.
So, what are the causes? I mean, why is it that I'm behaving in this particular manner? Is it genetics? Is it the environment? What is creating so much of anxiety in us these days?
Multiple causes. It's not that anxiety was not existing earlier.
Hmm.
As I said, it used to exist earlier also, but we weren't so focused only on that because we had other things also to do. The current generation is more anxious because of the social exposure that they have. Secondly, resilience is low. The threshold of pain, threshold of frustration tolerance, threshold of patience, all these things have become very low as compared to what we had earlier. So that's why it is difficult for this current generation to deal with anxiety as bravely or as strongly as we did once upon a time. Again, factors could be your upbringing. If you've had critical parenting or coming from broken families, you've had some traumatic incidents, loss of some near and dear ones, all these things can cause anxiety. Plus, a major factor is that if there has genetically, if it is running in the family, there are more chances for you to probably become anxious.
Okay. So, you said that today's generation is really connected socially. So, how's being socially connected? Uh, I should be, in fact, in a better space if I'm socially connected.
Are
You know?
you? I would like to ask this question to all the youngsters
Yeah,
today. In fact, I would like to ask myself also because I am also on the social space. It's not that
yeah,
I'm not there,
yeah.
but I prefer human interaction
Mm.
than being on. I am on Instagram only for my work, nothing
Mm.
else.
Mhm.
My life does not depend on the number of likes that I get on Instagram, or it doesn't depend on how many people are watching this YouTube live today. That does not make me or break me as a person. So
Mhm.
to the generation today, for them everything depends on the number of likes, what people think about them, how they are able to match up to whatever is there in the market today. you know for example, let's take the body image thing. Like, people are so concerned about it nowadays that they're willing to do anything. So many adolescents are facing eating disorders. Why? I want to be thin, I want to look beautiful, I want to look whatever. So where is this coming from? It's not coming from our contacts, right? We as parents have never told them that you're supposed to starve yourself to become thin, our guidance to them would always be what? Eat healthy, exercise, and rest well. That's the three things that all parents tell their children, but they don't seem to follow that.
So it's like I need to validate
Yes.
myself that I'm good enough for society,
Yeah,
and that is creating a pressure on me, which is leading to anxiety.
absolutely.
Okay.
Just today, I was watching something while coming only on some YouTube shot that the most important thing for us to be able to avoid the subtle peer pressure, the influence that
Hmm.
we have. If we are able to avoid that, I think most of our children will can become pretty successful.
Okay. What about loneliness? Do you think that contributes to anxiety?
Yeah, obviously it will, right? If you are lonely, you're thinking,
Hmm.
and thinking always leads to anxious thoughts, and it leads to anxiety. It leads to you becoming more sad, more depressed, because you're thinking and ruminating about those things which have probably already happened,
Hmm.
or which may have not happened but you feel will happen.
But I thought thinking is a good thing, Mataji.
It is. There is a difference, as I, there is a difference between thinking and being thoughtful.
Hmm.
Being thoughtful means you're doing an activity with, some mindfulness, with being in the present. But what does thinking mean? You're thinking too much about. So let's put it as overthinking.
So,
you
how
know
do I know that I have crossed the threshold of adequate thinking?
okay, what happens is that whenever you overthink, your mind is running at a very fast rate. All right. And what happens is that you're not able to catch up with those thoughts. They are random thoughts which keep coming, but at the same time they trouble you also. It's not that these thoughts are just coming and going, you are holding on to them. And when you hold on to those thoughts, that's when the problem begins. Okay, I need to do this also, I need to do this as well. And when these thoughts become like a big clutter, and you feel, oh my god, I have so many things to do, how am I going to manage that? That's when anxiety or panic attack sets in.
Hmm. I've recently come across a few cases where a child called his or her mother saying that, Mama, I have got a panic attack.
Hmm.
Now, this is something we had not heard during our times. It seems that this seems it's a common phenomena where people get into these panic attacks. What are panic attacks?
Okay, I'll tell you what this is. I'll just explain through a case which I dealt with. There was a 13-year-old schoolgirl. I think she was studying in 12th, sorry, in 8th grade. And she was admitted in the hospital for a convergent disorder, that's called. What you start getting blackouts, you start feeling, dizzy, and you're not able to function properly. So she after being, I first met her in IPD, and then after that she started coming for sessions. So I tried to find out what was the reason behind her. This is one kind of panic attack. Getting becoming dizzy or losing, um, you know becoming disoriented, blacking out, feeling suffocated. So all these things are indications of a panic. In fact, I myself have experienced one once when I was walking on the road. I think it was in the evening time, and I suddenly started feeling dizzy. I started feeling breathless, suffocated. My chest was, it felt as if, somebody is sitting on it and kind of just squeezing it. So I thought I was having a heart attack, but slowly and gradually, since fortunately I've studied psychology, I started breathing. There were people who are, these fruit vendors and vegetable vendors. They offered me water. They offered me a basket to sit on. So I just sat down, took sips of water, started breathing, and I calmed down in 5 minutes. So this is called a panic attack,
Okay.
where you really feel that actually you're going to lose it. It's one
Okay.
of those major things that happens in people who suffer with
But
anxiety.
that's a symptom
It's a
of
symptom.
anxiety. But
Absolutely.
what led it to that state?
Thoughts, that's what I said. No,
Yeah.
overthinking.
Hmm.
When you're thinking too much,
Hmm.
I realized that I had sleep. I over a period of when I had that attack, I went back and I
Analyze.
introspected
Yeah. Yeah.
what happened. I had not slept well. I was thinking about something constantly, There was stress. We had just ended with COVID and it was at that point in time. So there were too many things that were happening. So
Okay.
that's when I realized that, oh, this is a panic attack. It's an
Okay.
anxiety attack.
Okay.
Even during COVID, I used to get a lot of calls. Doctor, I feel I'm getting a heart attack. I can't breathe, I'm feeling breathless. I
Okay.
said, I'm sure it is not a heart attack, but still, nevertheless, go to the emergency room and get yourself completely checked, with an ECG, whatever. And it used to turn out mostly that people are having panic attacks.
So I really don't want to reach that state.
Absolutely, right.
So what are the things which happen before I reach the panic state?
I told you the scale, right? It starts from being worried,
Okay.
being concerned, moves on to being worried.
Okay.
Then I start feeling, start thinking, overthinking. I start thinking that, oh, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's okay. Making a list of things to do. But then you start overthinking in terms of, I need to do 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20 items, which are not feasible for any human being.
So we become unrealistic.
Absolutely. It's a very unrealistic expectation from self.
But why does this happen? I mean, why do we become unrealistic, which seems so uncommonsensical,
See, normally, I would say there are three things that which people normally do, is that there are three kinds of demands that we have. One is demand from self, one is demand from others, and third is demand from the environment. Demand from self is that you're demanding yourself to do certain things which you may or you may not be able to do. So when those demands start increasing, it's kind of a self talk that you do with yourself, that okay, I have to do this also, and then tomorrow I have to do that. Oh, tomorrow I've got to do this also, and this has been pending. So what happens is that your mind is busy calculating so many things, and at the end of the day there is just a clutter. There is no structure.
So it's my thought that I need to do 15 things.
Yes.
It's coming from my self-talk. My self-talk is coming from where?
It's coming from here. When you always, there is always a saying that whenever you think, remember that your mind is listening to you, whether anybody is not listening, whether anyone is listening or no, but your mind, your brain is listening to you. So be very careful what you think of him. I was just reading a quote of Bruce Lee today by Bruce Lee, and he said that you have to be very careful what you tell yourself. Be careful that you don't land up labeling yourself, oh, I'm this, I'm that, because you're listening to it.
So what I'm trying to understand is that, does this come from a space where you feel that you're not good enough, you are not enough, that you need to do so much to prove to yourself?
Not
that you're good
necessarily.
enough?
It may not necessarily be a lack of self-worth or lack of self-confidence. No. It's sometimes it is just situational. There are people who have been suffering from anxiety for 6 months, and they're able to overcome it. Overcome it, like, for that particular moment. I don't know, it might come back because it's a management. It's like, having diabetes or hypertension and managing it for the rest of your life.
Okay.
So it's like a lifestyle disease, So if you're able to manage it, good. But if you're not, then it becomes a problem. Like you said, it's not necessarily that it arises out of a lack of sense of self-worth as such.
Or is it linked to our belief system?
It could be.
It could
to
be.
a great extent.
Okay.
How, as I said, because it's how you're brought up. So
Right.
what is a belief system? It's something which is acquired over a period of time.
Okay.
So if you have been brought up in a critical way, obviously you keep doubting yourself.
Okay.
Why do you feel anxious? Is because I am not able to do a certain thing the way I feel it should happen. So even if you are a perfectionist, you can become anxious.
Right.
Okay. The T has to be crossed and all the I's are to be dotted.
Yes.
Even then you can become anxious. If even one I is not dotted, then it becomes a problem.
Okay. So should we work on the causes also?
See, the causes will automatically, initially what happens, suppose I'll give you an example. If I have got hurt, okay, what will I do? I will first apply some kind of, antiseptic cream or something on top. Then I will wait for the wound to heal.
Okay.
All right. So initially, I will work on, that's how we normally work. We work on the physical symptoms first.
Okay.
So this girl came, I worked on the physical symptom first. This lady came, we worked on the physical. Okay, you were crying. What were you feeling when you drove back? Okay, I was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling scared. So give them some exercises for the next 15 days. They do those exercises, calm down physically, and then we work on the emotional health.
Okay.
Move on the emotional health, go back to childhood. If there
Okay.
are any traumas, if there are any areas which are, dark, which need to be addressed.
Okay.
So this is a process that, I
Okay.
cannot work on a genetic factor.
Okay.
That's something which is not in my control because that's
Okay.
passed on to you.
Okay.
But again, we cannot work on the nurturing part because that's already happened.
Okay.
What you can work on is dissociating yourself from that particular nurturing. That's something
Okay.
which you can do.
Okay. So in some cases it would be something deeper
Yes.
and we need to work on that.
Yes.
In some cases it might be at the surface and we can
Yes.
work on
People
it.
suffering from PTSD have very deep issues.
Okay.
PTSD is post traumatic stress disorder. Any
Okay.
kind of trauma or stress that they have faced long time ago.
Mhm.
It could be a case of physical abuse, sexual abuse, anything when you're a child.
Okay.
You're still struggling with it if it has not been addressed.
Okay. So, Mataji, uh, when do we go to a therapist?
Okay, we've been discussing this throughout. When do we go to a therapist? When I feel I cannot function normally.
Hmm.
I feel that my day to day activities are becoming challenging for me. I'm not able to wake up in the morning, or as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm feeling breathless, I'm feeling dizzy, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. Oh, one more day and I go back to sleep. I don't want to face this. So these are symptoms where you really need to genuinely look at seeking help.
So, should I first talk to my family, my friends?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because it helps you to talk to them, it helps you in getting some direction. Some of them may know people who can help them. So it need not be always a therapist. It can be somebody who's there in your family who can guide you. If it is a little mild, they can definitely help you out. But if it is something which is serious, obviously you need to seek a professional.
So, what does a therapist do to
Okay.
help the
Okay.
person?
What we as or I can talk about myself. I as a therapist, normally for anxiety and depression, I specifically use something known as cognitive behavior therapy. So cognitive behavior therapy works on your thought patterns, on your feelings, on your emotions, and it helps you. So we give you skill sets. I give skill sets which helps people to work on their thought process, change their pattern of thinking, helping them rewire their thought, the way the pathways are created in the brain. So there's a lot of rewiring that needs to be done.
Hmm.
It's a time consuming process, but it helps. I have seen people who have been consistently coming for therapy, and it really helps them. And who
Okay.
practice, obviously. If I'm giving a skill, I expect that the practice should be there at home.
Hmm.
If it is not practice, then my 50% I'm doing, but your 50% as a client, you're not
Sure.
kind of
Sure. That goes
contributing.
for any kind of advice.
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
So, before I reach that state of feeling the need to go to a therapist, what can I do proactively to become less anxious?
Okay. So there are a couple of things that I normally talk about. One is the grounding technique, which I can probably share now. So I think we'll try both of us if it is
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So grounding technique is that first I take a comfortable space in the chair, or you can lie down also, however you want to. Sit comfortably and just look around you. As you keep looking around, you have to observe 5 objects around you, any 5 objects which are there around you.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So once you finish that, please close your eyes. Once you close your eyes, you have to listen to 4 sounds around you. Listen to 4 sounds around you. Once you're done with that, 3 smells that you can get around you. 3 smells that stimulate your nostrils around you. Next, 2 things that you can feel, like touch the armchair, the arm of the chair, you feel the texture of your clothes, feel the texture of your skin, of your hair. So, any 2 things you can feel. And finally, one emotion that you're feeling right now.
Yeah, it's
Open your
nice.
eyes. So, when
So,
you do this,
yeah,
what happens is that you are in a panic mode or probably beginning to panic. You are distracting yourself from that particular stimuli and bringing your focus to other things around you.
mm,
And finally, when you go to that one emotion that you feel, 90% of the time you'll feel calm because your mind is away from the major stimuli that was actually making you feel anxious.
yeah,
So, this normally happens.
yeah. Even I was feeling much better. For once, I could smell the flowers which were kept on the table. Yeah. So it was nice feeling. But am I running away from my problem by
No,
doing all this?
absolutely. This is temporary distraction.
Okay.
This is something which you can do when you're walking on the road. Like, as I told you, the day I had a panic attack, I did this.
Mm,
This is known as the 5 4 3 2 1 grounding technique.
mm, mm,
All
mm,
right. So I did this. You can do visual imagery. Like, you can just close your eyes, feel yourself walking on the beach,
mm,
feel the sand and the pebbles on your feet. Then, as you keep walking, you can hear the crashing of the waves against the shore, against the rocks. So, all these things can be done.
So, what I'm trying to understand is that when we are in the state of anxiety, our mind is not able to think properly. So, I'm bringing my mind to a state where I can see things more clearly
Absolutely.
and take the right decisions for myself.
See, when you're in a state of clutter, or
Mm,
when you're in a state of disarray, bolte hain,
mm,
the mind can't function.
mm.
It can't think for itself. You can't take decisions. You cannot do any, you cannot act upon anything. So it is important for you to actually stabilize first. I'm
Mm,
not even saying calming down,
right.
just stabilizing yourself.
Mm.
Become stable. It's not that all your worries, and like I said, 90%, sometimes it can be 80%, but you know that you're feeling much better than what you were feeling 1 minute ago.
Can I do something on a regular basis?
You can do, there is something known as progressive muscle relaxation
Mhm,
technique,
mm.
which can be done on a regular basis. It's available on YouTube, so anybody can use that.
Okay.
A 15 20 minute, this you can do yoga nidra on a regular basis.
Okay.
Again, a 15 20 minute option is available. These two things really help.
What about breathing?
Breathing, yes, but that can be used specifically for those times where you are genuinely feeling very, I would say, a lot of anxiety. You're feeling very anxious and you really don't know what to do. Along with the grounding technique, we also teach something known as diaphragmatic breathing. In that, what you do is you sit straight, hold probably one hand on your abdomen and one hand on your chest. As you inhale, feel your chest and your abdomen inflating. As you exhale slowly, you will feel both the chest and the abdomen going in. Again, inhale gently, exhale gently. Inhale, exhale. This you can keep doing for as long as you want, till the time you start feeling calm and
So, as I
stable.
told you, I was feeling anxious.
Yeah,
Now I'm feeling much more calmer.
it helps.
Yeah.
And when you do this activity, you can always keep telling yourself that while I'm inhaling positivity, and I'm exhaling all the negativity from my body.
Okay.
So you're throwing out the negativity into the universe and absorbing all the positivity, because you inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. So
Okay.
that's a natural process. Again, whenever you are anxious, a lot of your muscles go into a spasm, and when you do deep breathing, these muscles open up, they relax, and again there is proper flow of oxygen in the body.
Okay.
So
So, as a family member or as a concerned friend, what are the symptoms I need to be mindful of that somebody is going through some kind of some kind of anxiety?
okay, you can watch out for people becoming more irritated or agitated,
Hmm.
crying more often than necessary,
Okay.
being very sensitive about things around them,
Hmm.
um, confused, then
Sleeping a
sleeping,
lot.
not sleeping a lot. Actually, anxiety does not make you sleep, but there's a lack of sleep.
Okay.
Normally there's lack of sleep. It could be the other way around sometimes, but rarely. And it's more so feeling very tired, very weak, fatigued, overwhelmed all the time, like you're agitated, and you're like, you don't know what to do. Everything is, it seems like, everything seems so difficult around you. So when you see people struggling to do their day to day chores, it could be because of depression also, you never know. If you feel people sleeping too much, it could be the anxiety and depression are, they go hand in hand. So brother and sister both have no school.
Okay.
Siblings. It could be. So normally when somebody is anxious, depression follows, or when someone is depressed, anxiety follows.
Okay.
That's a normal trend. Not
Okay.
always.
Okay. So, what about meeting friends, going out? You know,
If you have social anxiety, obviously you will not go out.
yeah.
It's a fear, it's a fearful situation for you, meeting people, making friends, talking, to people, or even going and standing in front of 10 people or in the group of 10 people. It's a challenge for you. I had a client who would not go for parties. Parents had to prep him before a party. Okay, we are going here, these are the number of people who are going to come, this person is going to be there, that person is, so making him comfortable before he goes for the party. And once he goes there also, he would just sit in one corner and not interact. That's it, because there is this fear of being judged,
Mm.
rejected, or humiliated, or ridiculed,
Okay.
so they become socially extremely aware and
But
conscious.
if you do not have social anxiety,
Hmm.
if you're comfortable meeting people, then you will suggest that we should step out
Yes,
and
yes,
meet
definitely.
people, play with them.
Yeah, because being at home does not really help, na?
Yeah.
The more number of people you meet, the more number of friends you make, the more interactions you have, you're good to go.
Okay. Actually, today, getting up early is a big challenge. Getting up early, doing pranayam, doing exercises. Uh, do you suggest we should get up early in the morning and do all these things so that we remain mentally more healthy?
See, earlier I would have suggested this, because I would still suggest it, because I wake up in the morning and I do all these activities. I go for a walk every day. So that's a part of my routine.
Hmm.
Or I also sometimes later on, if I have to go to the gym, I go later on. But it is nevertheless part of my routine. I would suggest to everybody, if you can spare 1 hour for yourself every day. It could be for any kind of exercise. It can be yoga, it can be walking, it can be anything, swimming, it can be gym. Do it at your time, but do it, because that helps in
Okay.
mental health.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely it helps
Okay.
in strengthening your emotional well-being, keeping you fit, keeping you happy, keeping you hormonally happy. So all these things are all chemical imbalances in the body.
Okay.
So it helps. All these activities will I would suggest doing things in touch with nature or yoga, because they are more connected to emotional well-being. But if you're a gym person, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
No issues. Play a
Okay.
games, play sports, anything that you like, but keeping yourself fit, taking
Okay.
good rest, sleeping well at night. You may wake up by 6 instead of 5 o'clock, you may wake up by 7. That's okay. But as long as you've had your 7 hours sleep, it's good enough. And
Okay.
having a good diet, obviously.
Okay. So, can you tell us more about the diet? I mean, what do you suggest?
Diet, see, obviously, if you go by diet, is the normal healthy food that we have every day at home. Dal,
Hmm.
rice, roti, sabji is, and your staple diet. Like if you're coming from a particular part of India, like
Hmm.
if you're from the north, you're used to eating more of rotis. If you're from south, you're used to eating more of rice. East again rice, west is again roti. So it is your staple diet.
Hmm.
What makes you feel comfortable? I am sure junk food doesn't make anyone comfortable.
Okay.
People do go to junk food as comfort food,
Hmm.
but that is called stress eating.
Hmm.
It's not eating to make you feel healthy.
Hmm.
It is eating to make you feel better temporarily, but
Hmm.
harming you in the long run.
Okay.
So that is something which most of us should avoid.
Okay. Okay.
Try and avoid. I'm not saying
Okay.
that don't eat at all, but as
Okay.
far as possible, eat good food, healthy food at home.
Okay.
Any food which is cooked at home is healthy, I feel.
Okay.
Try and avoid outside khana, mere hisab se to.
Okay. Okay. So we have a few questions on our YouTube
Sure.
live channel. So this is from Ria Sharma. So she's preparing for an exam. It's a government exam,
Hmm.
but there are too many distractions around her. So how does she be? How does she maintain focus without getting too distracted?
If the distraction is screen, that something is, then it is something which he has to work on his self discipline. All right. If it is distraction at home, there are any arguments, or there's too much of noise, the house is small, she can go and study in a library. So most of the distractions, there are solutions. You have to just apply your common sense at times and use, I would actually like to understand what kind of distractions, but just since it is not a two-way thing, if
Hmm.
she can clarify what are the kind of distractions, I can address that
Yeah,
better.
possibly, Ria, you can connect with Mataji
Yeah.
one on one and possibly explain what are the distractions that are troubling you. Um, how does one deal with anger? Uh, so, when one gets angry, how does one deal
Oh,
with that?
that's a session by itself, but I'll just explain in short.
Uh,
Again, like anxiety, see, anger is an external manifestation of your internal suppressed emotions. Okay.
mhm.
So when you look at something known as anger umbrella, anger is right at the top over the umbrella. But below anger, you have a lot of other feelings which lead to anger. It could be hurt, it could be betrayal, it could be disappointment, it can be irritation, it could be anything. So instead of addressing the anger, we need to address the feelings below that. What has led to become angry? So that is what we need to focus on. So when I address those feelings, my
Mm,
anger is automatically addressed.
mhm. Yes. So, are there different kinds of meditations which we can practice? Or maybe you can explain a little bit more about progressive muscle relaxation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Progressive muscle relaxation is a technique which we normally offer to most of our clients for working on their anxiety. What it does, it helps you tense and relax all the muscles of your body, starting right from your forehead to your toe. Okay, so it's like a body scan. Along with the body scan, it's also tensing and relaxing the muscles. As I told you earlier, anxiety causes muscles of the body to go into a spasm. So when you are doing these exercises every day, you are actually rewiring your body to um, sorry, you're actually working on your body to um, address the spasms. Whenever you go into
Mm.
an anxiety, the body goes into a spasm. So when you do PMR, it helps you. The brain tells you automatically, there's a rewiring which happens. The brain particularly passes a message that okay, the body is going to a spasm, it needs to now relax. So if you do this regularly, you learn to relax your body in a very smooth manner, rather
Mm.
than getting flustered and wondering what to do. As soon as that the anxious feelings come, you start working on that particular part of the body. Sometimes the hands and legs are trembling, sometimes there is headache, sometimes your neck and shoulders become stiff. So exactly, okay, now this is becoming, this is going to a spasm, I
Mm.
need to relax. So you'll do
Yeah.
exercises to relax your neck, shoulders. It's not actually, it's body's automatic reaction, frankly
Mm.
speaking.
Mm.
Suppose you start feeling stiff neck, you
Mm.
start rolling your shoulders, after some time you
Mm.
start
Mm.
rolling your
Mm.
neck.
Mm.
So you feel better. So again, this is muscle memory.
Mm. 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 Mm.
So over a period of time, this takes over. As soon as you have an anxiety attack, the brain tells, okay, now we are having, we are prepared. Let's address it in this way.
Okay. So you know how we work on our physical health, how we work on our spiritual health. There has to be a conscious
Effort.
effort to keep ourselves emotionally agile, um, healthy, because all are connected.
Yes,
So
100%.
if I'm not feeling emotionally healthy, chances are that it will impact my physical health as well as my spiritual health,
100%.
and vice versa. It could be my physical health impacting my spiritual health, and my spiritual health
Yes.
impacting my emotional health. So it's like a tricycle, which I am riding on, and all the three tires, the mind, the body, and the soul, they need to be
Synchronized.
synchronized. They need to be aligned so that on my journey of life, I can ride well. If there are any speed breakers or bumps, I can manage, because all the three tires are are well taken care of.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mataji. Any
Most welcome.
last thoughts on on anxiety, something which you feel we haven't addressed in the conversation, something which we need to take away, um, one or two things which are most important for our viewers.
I would actually encourage everybody to start working, as you just said, start working on their physical health first. Because as I told you earlier, addressing any emotional health problems begins with addressing the physical symptoms. So if we are physically fit, you observe many people who are physically fit, they have they do not have so many emotional issues,
Mm.
because um, the hormonal level is in balance. They are exercising regularly, they are eating good food, they are resting properly. So when we do this on a regular basis, then our emotional health is taken care of. I'm not saying that you will never fall ill emotionally. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. Even if you are exercising regularly or whatever, there may be some symptoms which still trouble you. But we can avoid. So when we can avoid, you know, we should try. And
Okay.
one thing I would also like to share is that nowadays the younger generation has become very proactive about mental health
Hmm.
post post pandemic.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what they are doing is that even if they feel, like
Hmm.
I have some couples who come before marriage for
Hmm.
premarital counseling,
Hmm.
then I have some people who come, who are working in the office setup, who come, if they feel that they're not interacting well or they're losing their temper often, immediately they come for therapy. Okay,
Hmm.
ma'am, we would like to address this issue because we feel that it could get out of hand. So
Hmm.
people are becoming proactive about mental health,
Yeah.
and especially the current generation, which is
Yeah,
a good
which
sign,
is a
which is
good
a very
sign.
good sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they want to do something about it,
Hmm.
because they know that if they don't address it, it can lead to something very dangerous, and it can definitely affect their impact their day to day functioning. So this is one thing and one kind of trend that I'm observing now.
Do you have a therapist?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So
It's
even
not,
a
I am
therapist
human.
requires a therapist,
I am
yeah?
a human being. I also require help from time to
Okay.
time. So I
Okay.
definitely go to my mentor
Okay.
whenever I have some challenges.
Yeah.
Talk to
Yeah.
them.
No, personally, even I have been going to a therapist since I was possibly 21 years. So whenever I feel anxiety, I can't manage my emotions, I do visit a therapist. During our time, it was like a taboo, ये आदमी पागल है. But now we are seeing that, especially the youth, they
Yeah.
say, I just went and met my therapist. Oh, who's your therapist? Oh, okay, So it's like a very casual, it's become
Yeah.
very casual, which is very healthy. One last thing, Mataji, you know, what advice would you like to give parents so that they can help children deal with their anxiety?
Uh, when your child comes and tells you, that mummy, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or daddy, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm getting angry very quickly, or I'm losing it, I'm not able to focus. See, again, being able to concentrate, focus, all these are again physical symptoms of inability to, symptoms of anxiety. So when a child comes and tells you about this, take it seriously. Do not take it, don't just brush it aside कि हाँ, you're just doing some drama, attention. It's not like that. The child genuinely needs help, and that's why she or he is coming and talking to you. So address it. You can go to the school counselor, talk to the school counselor. In fact, I have parents coming to me saying that, Arey, my 12-year-old, 13-year-old is telling she wants a psychologist, she wants to meet a therapist, and they're bringing them. I have a lot of preteen children coming to me, or teenage children coming to me for therapy, because they feel that we need help. We're not able to focus on studies, I'm not able to sit in one place. So children are becoming conscious, which is a good sign. They are understanding के हम नहीं बैठ पा रहे इतना टाइम, I'm not able to focus, I get bored very quickly. So these are some of the symptoms that they are seeing in themselves. Other than that, parents feel that okay, they become more rebellious, which is common. But symptoms of anger, display of anger outbursts, so all these things, when parents see, sometimes the child may not observe, but the parent is seeing, and observing that okay, I am seeing a scale of difference in my child. This is what she was or he was 2 years ago or 6 months ago, and this is what has happened academically. Also, there has been a drop. So I need to, go and talk to somebody about it.
So, how do we make the child believe that you're not inferior?
Hmm.
You're not pagal. How do we make them feel comfortable uh, by seeking help?
See, again, all that comes to all the schools trying to make mental health a very acceptable and normal, phenomenon. It is not wrong for a child to stand outside the wellness office or a counselor's office and, waiting to meet with the counselor. It's okay.
Yeah,
The child has a problem,
right.
And other children should be actually made to understand, you don't need to teach this child. In fact, the child, I feel, the student who comes to a counsel is very courageous,
Right.
because he or she is actually wanting to seek help, which
Right.
others are probably trying to avoid.
True.
So I would in fact applaud this child for coming,
True.
and seeking help.
True.
But again, it should be made a normalized phenomenon in schools, in the society also. Talking about like going to a doctor, a therapist should be a common thing. Okay, you need help, okay, I'm going to a therapist. Why? I need to talk out certain things. I need some clarification, I'm confused. So going to a therapist need not necessarily always be a very major clinical disorder. It can be, somebody asked me the other day that for lifestyle management, can I come to you? I said yes, why not?
Yeah.
I want to manage my time better. I don't want to be a procrastinator.
Right.
So all these things are issues, they are challenges. So you can approach a therapist for
In
all these
fact,
things.
our cricket team
Yes.
or a football team,
They have
so they all have psychologists,
yes.
because beyond a particular phase, it's just not the skill, it's your mental well-being, it's your mental state of mind.
100%.
So yes, even the likes of Virat Kohli and all would seek
Yes, they
help.
all go for they have an in-house
They
mental
have
coach.
in-house. In
Yes,
fact, in companies you have coaches,
yes,
who guide corporate executives.
absolutely.
So this is something which is which we see in many places. So that's a very healthy shift that we are seeing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, recently I did I think 2 session program for an organization on grief counseling. They lost a very close colleague of theirs, and everybody was shocked.
Okay.
And the HR organized for a grief counseling session for two
Okay.
days.
Okay.
So this is something which is new.
True.
I
True.
have never done this before, but I've done it on an individual
True.
basis, but
True.
not as a group therapy. But
True.
it was good. I mean, I really appreciate that organization.
True. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. We will continue our conversation about how we can be emotionally healthy along with being physically healthy as well as spiritual health.